Okay, sir. Am I audible over the web? Right. So in the last class, I think we have spoken about explicit dependencies, and then we have created a virtual network and resource group in Azure and VPC in AWS so far. Okay, right. So okay, then. Right. Sir. Okay. So generally, when we work with Terraform, we are using HashiCorp configuration language. We need to know a little bit about that, and then we will try to basically use certain things on top of it. Okay. So HashiCorp configuration language, HCL. Mm, right. Okay. Now, when you try to basically work on HashiCorp configuration language, there are certain things which we need to understand. So for that, I have opened this configuration language. Okay, right. So even though it is mentioned as Terraform configuration language over here, it is basically an HashiCorp configuration language. Okay, right. Okay, sir. Now, when we are working on HashiCorp configuration language, this is basically the whole specification about syntaxes, how to write the things and how to write numerical elements. Okay, so how do you write expressions? Everything is basically mentioned over here. Okay, right. So for specification, okay, so this is a spec which basically speaks about how should you do certain things in HashiCorp. So for example, here you would have how to use for. Okay, so how do you do various things in HashiCorp? Okay, right, sir. So the basic point over here is, okay, whenever you're working on HashiCorp configuration language, there are few things which you need to understand. Let me try to show you those stuff. So resources, resource blocks. Okay, right. Mm, Resources, 1 minute, provider. Okay, right, sir. So with respect to Terraform, they speak about provider, and this is the documentation of provider, right? So what this provider is, how to use provider, and how to use your configurations, where can you find providers, what do you think is the right way of doing it? You can write your own provider. So all of the things are basically mentioned over here. So try to tell that, try to use official. If not official, then go for partner, then go for community. Even myself, I can try to write one more provider for Azure or AWS, but that will become community. That will never become partner. That will never become official. Okay, right. So whenever you are trying to write provider, okay. So how do you basically uh, try to use or write the provider syntax. Okay, syntactically it is very simple. You just write provider and then you fill in the attributes and then you get the value. And whenever you are trying to write this, okay, yeah. So whenever you're trying to write this, you would be writing provider. We have spoken about it. Name of the provider, and then you would have, okay, certain details about the provider. What are the arguments and what are the things it should take. But there is one problem over here. Okay, so all of these providers basically come from something which we call as registry. So in Terraform registry, are you seeing browse providers? We don't know what modules and what the other things are, but we definitely understand what a provider is. Let me take AWS provider. Now, AWS provider, if you try to see what is the version, yeah, but the point is, if you try to look into provider, this is not the only version. You can try to look into it. There are multiple versions, and your company might have created the Terraform probably 2 years ago, and they might be using some older version. Okay, so in Terraform, let us assume that I want to use this specific version. Okay, right, and then if I want to use provider, are you seeing this section called as Terraform? Let us try to understand Terraform block now. Okay, so the Terraform block or HCL for Terraform. The Terraform block, okay, over here. What is it trying to tell? Okay, helps in configuring the provider with version of the provider from registry. Okay, right. Why do you think it is important? This is important because you don't change provider every day in your organization. Once you write Terraform template, you would basically stick to it. Okay, now sometimes you use the work which comes from multiple places. Then how do you handle the stuff? One thing might be from one provider, the other thing might be from another provider. Okay, so for that, what you do is you write a Terraform block. Let us try to look into what is the Terraform block. Terraform block. Sorry, saying Terraform block. This is important. This has become quite an important thing at this moment. Okay, right. So this Terraform block is very simple. You write Terraform, and then there are many things which you can try to write over here. So whenever you are trying to do, we can configure something called as backend. Once we learn backend, we can configure that. Specifying a required Terraform version. Okay. So over here, what I can do is I can try to write what is the version of Terraform which I want to run. I can try to write. Are you seeing provider requirements? Okay, so you can try to write provider requirements, and then you can also try to write different things about your provider. So let me try to show you how what is that I can do. First, let me go over here and destroy whatever I have created. Terraform destroy. Okay, right. So there are few points of Terraform which I'll touch, and there are few points which I'll touch little bit later. So here I'm trying to write Terraform provider. Okay, and now over here, if you try to look at it, there are version constraints, and then here there is something called as required providers. So let me try to write my required version. Okay, so let us try to look at what is this required version first, and then I'll try to go with required provider. uh, Required underscore version. It accepts what? Version constraint string. Okay, so what is a version constraint string? Version constraint string is you can specify greater than or equals to. Okay, this speaks that I am okay with any version as long as it is greater than 1.2.0 and less than 2.0. Okay, you can try to write different expressions over here. Okay, so there are different version constraints. Okay, so the first thing which I want to do is specify which version of Terraform you should be using. Okay, so for that use required underscore version. So and now to specify constraints, there are simple things, sir. Greater than, we understand that greater than is basically trying to speak about a specific version, and then less than, greater than or equals to. But before we understand these basic symbols, whenever you write versions, you might have seen something like 1.4.0 or 1.4.1. Generally, whenever you see these three digits, the first digit speaks about major version. The second digit speaks about minor version. The third digit speaks about patch version. Okay, in the same version, you have done some fix and then you have basically given to it. Okay, now whenever you have written something like greater than 1.4.0, that means that it will take anything which is 1.4.1 and above. Okay, so but if you have tried to written greater than or equals to, even 1.4.0 is fine. Okay, so but if you try to write this, this means that what is the last digit here? Patch. Okay, sometimes in versions you might have 2 digits or 3 digit numbers or 4 digit numbers. Okay, whatever is the last digit, so last digit in this case is this, so this will be okay with 1.4.1, 1.4.0 to 1.4.x, but it will not take 1.5. So in the extreme last digit, any number that changes, it will try to take the latest version from there. Okay, that is this versioning. And majority of the times when we develop or when we are working on development, we will try to go with this versioning, because while we are developing also versions might change. Before we give a release to the production, then we would be using equals to or a specific version number. Specific version number. Now let us come back to here. Okay, so they have not given anything. Okay, right, fine. Terraform versions. Sorry, saying there are different versions of Terraform. Okay, from the day it started, it used to start with 0 dot something, but after 15 they have moved to this one version. Okay, so now here I'll try to tell that my Terraform version, okay, where is this, required version is greater than 1.0.0. This will not work in 0.11 version of Terraform, 0.15 version of Terraform. This template will work only if your Terraform is, yeah, let us do this, greater than or equals to 1.4.0. This is what I've written. Now let me go into the system. Sorry, sir. Okay, fine. Now Terraform hyphen hyphen version. So what is my version of Terraform, sir? 1 dot? No, Terraform init. Are you saying it is trying to that this is unsupported version? Why? Because in my laptop I have 1.3.9, but while writing the template I said that run this template only if your version is greater than or equals to 1.4.0. But if I try to run it on a Linux machine where we have installed 1.4.0, it would work. Are we clear on this? So when you have written Terraform, you can basically put a restriction on required version. Generally, you would not see people doing that. Even if they do, what they do is they try to put it to come away from older version. So greater than or equals to 1.0.0. Okay. So now if I try to do Terraform in it, this works. Are you clear on this, sir? Now let me go to Terraform this folder and remove all the unnecessary files. Okay. This is the only file which we have written. If you remember main.txt, I have removed everything apart from that. And in this block, the other thing which we are doing is we are depending on provider. Yes, sir. Yeah. So in provider, you have different versions. Okay. So I want to use a version which is which was released 3 months ago, 4.47.0. Okay. So I'll try to write my provider is sorry, required providers, and I'm speaking about a provider which is AWS provider. Okay. So AWS is equals to where is this provider coming from and what is its version. So that is basically what is written over here. If you want here also you can use versioning with equals to and all of that stuff, but generally this is a good idea. Here what you are trying to tell us, you are restricting which version of provider you should be using. Now let me go over here and then do Terraform init. This was not there in Terraform earlier. So what is the version of Terraform that is getting downloaded? 4.47.0. Okay. Now again I'll go and delete this because generally we know that these two things will be in here. Now I'll try to tell that I want to use version which is greater than or equals. Let us see whether this works or not. You said that 4.47.0 greater than or equals to. I found a version which is 4.59.0, which is the latest version. So can I restrict which version of provider do I want? But till yesterday, when we were trying to download the Terraform, we never cared about this because you are always taking the latest version. When you don't write it, it will try to always download the latest version. But here you can put restrictions. Are we clear on this? So why do we use Terraform providers as of now? To put restrictions on which Terraform version and which provider version. Okay. So are we clear on this, sir? Yeah. There are a couple of more use cases about it, but we will not be able to understand it at this moment. Okay. So because we need to know a little bit more. Git add git commit -am. What is it? Added provider version requirements. While you are learning, it's absolutely okay. You can always use latest version. But in your organization, that might not be the case. They might have started working on Terraform probably 1 year ago and they don't want to change the provider version. So then you have to stick to the older versions. Okay, right. Refer here for changes. Okay, sir. Now, Let us look at this Terraform template. In this Terraform template, what is the problem, sir? My CADR block is always 192, 168, and I don't know about region. So let me go with documentation, AWS provider, and let me go with argument reference, and let me try to see, is there anything called as region? Yes. So now what I'll try to tell is region, and in region I'll try to tell it is US West 2. Are we clear on this, sir? Any problem so far? Okay, right. Now I have configured this. Now I'll try to do Terraform apply. I'll not create it, by the way. I just want to show you that. Okay. So it is trying to tell that it will create VPC CADR in this stuff with 192.168.0.0/16. Now, if I want to create it in Mumbai region, all I need to do is I need to find out what is Mumbai's value. And then if you log in into the AWS, you can easily figure it out. And the name of that will be AP South 1. So now do I have option to change the region, sir? So till yesterday, what is that we were trying to do? Whatever was configured in your AWS CLI, we were trying to take that as a default region. Now I have done this. Are we clear on this? Yeah, right. Are you not taking what? Resource separately. What is resource separately? I didn't got your question at all. Okay, fine. So here, what is it I'm trying to do? I want to create it in Mumbai. So shall we cross check? Yeah. Terraform apply. I'll try to use -auto approve. And in the meantime, while it is doing its job, let me try to go with. Okay. So right now, if you try to see, my region is Oregon. I want to go to Mumbai. Mumbai is AP-South-1. Let me select Mumbai region. And in Mumbai region, let me select VPC because we are trying to create a network. Okay. So over here, if you get into VPCs, are you seeing entire VPC with CADR range of 192.168.0.0? Yeah, right. Okay, sir. Shoaib, is that really important at this moment? That is something which I have done for Azure. Okay, right. Please focus on the details, sir. Yeah, right. Okay. So I'm deleting this unnecessary network. So can I create it in any region, sir? Okay. Now I have a small problem. I want to create it in region, but why should I fix the region? Why should I fix the CADR range? I want user to tell me what is the region which he wants. What is the region which he wants? Is that a good idea? Remember yesterday in the evening we said that rather than writing add function and always adding 5 plus 6, it would be better for me to give you add a b and you pass the value of a comma b and I'll create it over there. Okay. So for that, what we need to do is we need to do something called as Terraform variables. Okay. So while parameterizing also, there is something which we need to understand about HashiCorp configuration language. Parameterizing Terraform. The first thing is input variables. So whatever I'm giving as refer here section, are you reading that by any chance? They are not important, sir. There is no need for you to read them. If you listen to the classes, that is enough. Is there anyone who is doing that? Please don't do that. I give refer here section because you are supposed to read that. You are supposed to read that. Okay. Right. For input variables, official docs. Okay. Right. Let us see what Terraform has to say. Terraform tries to tell that you can give me variables. And while you are giving me variables, what you can do is you can give me type. So let me go into the type. What are the types that Terraform supports? String, number, boolean, list, set, map, object, tuple. This is what we'll try to understand. Whenever you are giving inputs, you can pass different inputs. Okay. So generally in most of the cases, string, number and boolean will be enough. In few cases, I might go with list. In some extreme cases, I might go with other things also. Okay. Right. So for inputs, Terraform supports the following types. The first one is number, string or text, boolean. These are straightforward. Okay. You pass anything in text value, you pass anything in numeric value, and you pass anything in true or false. That is basically what is present over here. And now the things will become little bit interesting when we start looking into list of. Here type means anything. It can be string, it can be number, it can be boolean. Okay. And then set of type. Okay. Map of type. Let us not try to understand each and everything, but eventually we will try to get into each and every aspect of this. Object and tuple. As the need comes, I'll try to create it. Okay. Now let us try to look at what we have written. Region. Do you agree that it is text? Yes. Yeah. Right. Now what I'll try to do is, let me try to destroy. Okay. And then start from beginning and then refactor the work. Refactor means rather than writing everything in one file, I'll be writing different files. Okay. So while it is doing its job, what I'll try to do is go over here. ఈ చెత్తంతా పీకేద్దాం, మనకి వీటితో పెద్ద పని లేదు. Okay. Right. Fine. Let me go over here and then create something called as provider.tf. And in provider.tf, I'll try to configure whatever I've written over. Okay. And then I'll be trying to create one more thing, which I'll be calling it as inputs.tf. In inputs.tf, I'll be creating two variables. One variable will be for region. The other variable will be for CADR range of VPC. So, are you saying variable? And whenever you are supposed to define a variable, the syntax is variable, give the name of the variable. So, give the name of it as region. That is what this documentation tries to speak about. Whenever you are trying to tell variable, the value which you can basically give is, you can give what is its default value, what is its type. So let me start with type. Type of it. What is the type which we have? String. Okay. So if you try to look into here, he has written type is equals to list of string. But I want string at this moment. Okay. Default value. Default value, I'll give it as US West2. If the user doesn't pass type, take that value as US West2. And then let us see what are the other fields which he wants me to basically give in arguments. Description. Okay. Enter the region to create resources. And then there is something interesting which is called as validation. If you want to do any validations, okay, so this should be among only these values, right? If you want to do something like that, that will be this. And then it is trying to speak about sensitive. So that means this is sensitive information, and whenever you type, it will not show what you are typing. Okay, whenever you want to take passwords, right? If you ask user to enter them in plain text, that is not a good idea. Nullable means, can this value be empty or null? Can this value be null or empty? Let us not get into that. Let us stick to this simple. Are we clear on this? Yeah. Now that is exactly what he has done over here. You try to see variable, and then he has given default value. Right, sir. Now let me try to write one more variable, which is enter hyphen VPC hyphen range. Type again string. Default value is 192.168.0.0/16. Description is enter the, or why enter? Let me try to write VPC CADR range. Am I clear on this? And if you remember yesterday, I said that whenever I do anything, I'll be using Terraform FMT. So did it align? Yes. Now I have created two variables. Okay. Now as of now, the situation what I have done is, it is like add of A comma B. Okay. But return 5 plus 6. Is there any use with this function? You are passing A B, but you are using still. So what is that I should be doing? Wherever I'm using 5, replace it with A. Wherever I am using 6, replace it with B. So if you try to look into it, our work also same thing. We have created a region variable called as region, but if you go over here, I am directly using your AP South one. So to use the variable, what Terraform tries to tell us, you can write something called as var dot variable name, var dot region, and then in main.tf var dot enter. Are we clear on this? You create a variable, and wherever you are directly using that value, just like replacing 5 with A and 6 with B. This is what you have done. Are we clear on this, sir? Yes. Okay, good. Now let me basically try to do Terraform validate. So it says that you are missing the required provider, you have not performed init operation. So let me do Terraform init. Okay. Now Terraform validate. It is trying to tell that your configuration is valid. Okay. Now I'll try to tell Terraform apply. Okay. I will not click on yes. Okay. Let me show you some differences. Did it ask me for any variables, sir? Did it ask me for any variables? No. So what is the CADR range which it has applied over here? 192.168.0.0/16, and region is obviously that is understood. So let me try to tell no, but I want to pass a different value to this variable. So how can I do that? Terraform apply hyphen hyphen help. Don't try to remember anything, not required. Okay, in here are you seeing any variable value passing? No, right? So I'm not saying anything to pass a value. So let us figure out, okay, in this documentation, if there is anything which can help us. I've created variable. Okay, fine. How can I pass that? Okay, this is fine. Are you saying there is something called as apply, and then you can give hyphen var equals to? Yeah. Where is the notes? MD. Yeah. To pass variables, we have two options. Okay. While okay, to pass variables while executing commands, we have two options. The first one is something which we call as hyphen var. The second option is something which we call as hyphen var hyphen 5. Okay, let us try to see what it is. So using hyphen var, refer here. So what I'll do is I'll try to tell that Terraform apply hyphen var. What is my variable name, sir? Let me go to the inputs. What is my variable name? Region. So I'll try to write region is equals to AP hyphen south hyphen 2, which is Hyderabad. Okay, and then hyphen var for the second variable. The second variable's name is entire hyphen VPC hyphen range. So I'll be trying to write entire hyphen VPC hyphen range is equals to 10.10.0.0 slash 60. Am I clear on this? Okay. So right. Right. So I'm just giving this example so that you can make out what I'm trying to speak about. Now let me try to use this. Let us see what is the CIDR range that will be shown. Are you saying CIDR range is 10.10.0.0 slash 16? Okay. Now let me try to tell yes. Let us see whether it gets created in Hyderabad or not. So let me go to the AWS region and then let me go to Hyderabad. The variables which I am passing has nothing to do whether you are in Hyderabad or whether you are in Azure or AWS or GCP, because this is how variables work. Now, if you go into your VPCs, are you seeing enter? And did we got enter created with 10.10.0.0 slash 16? So now is this better than what we have done yesterday? So yesterday I was always trying to tell that whenever you use this resource, it will create it in your default region with 192.168.0.0 slash 16. Okay. Now let me go over here and then let me do destroy. Okay. So are we clear about this, sir? So we can create a variable and assign that variable. From now onwards, we will religiously use variables. Okay. Right. So let me try to make the similar changes in Azure also. Get added. Yeah. Okay. Right. Refer here for the changes to use variables. But somehow I didn't like that option of basically creating what do you call the writing multiple variables or multiple variables at one shot. Okay, Terraform hyphen apply hyphen var. Let us assume I have 50 variables. Do you think I'll be writing hyphen var for everything? That is not possible. Okay, so Now what Terraform tries to tell us, there is another way of dealing with it. What you can do is you can create something called as variable definitions. Okay. So using variable definitions. Refer. Let us try to see what it tries to tell. So you can create a variable files. That variable file will have an extension of .tf was. So generally, now what I'll try to do is I'll try to go over here and then create a folder over here. Okay. And then in that folder, I'll be trying to write it as env. Okay. Ideally, that is a better way of doing it. But for now, since we don't know how to handle multiple environments, I'll try to create a file where I'll try to call it as okay values.tf vars. In values.tf vars, I'll simply write region is equals to US West 2. Okay, what was it? Entire VPC range. This is equals to let me use 192.168.0.0/16. Anyway, these are default values, right? Let me not use default. So 10.10.0.0/16 or 10.100, anything. Now this time when I want to apply this, what I do is Terraform apply -var-file is equals to where do we have our variables now, sir? In values.tf vars. Okay, now even if you have 100 variable values, try to define all of those values in this file and try to give only one input, that is this values file, and then click on enter. Are we clear on this? So one or two values we can use -var. If you have more variables, then -var-file. Okay. So are you saying that it is taking 10.100.0.0? Yeah. If you remember, our default value was 192.168.0.0/16. I'm not going to create it, but the command looks something like this. So the best way to pass variables, okay, if you have one or two variables, you can use -var. If you have more than one variable, try to use var files. Are we clear on this, sir? Good. So shall we quickly apply whatever we have learned in for Azure also? Yeah. So first let me go into the Azure section. cd /Azure and then let me destroy. Okay. And in the meantime, what is the first thing which we'll be trying to do? Terraform. Okay. Registry. Where is where did I open that? Okay, fine. Terraform registry, browse providers, Azure provider. What is the latest version? 3.48.0. So now the first thing which I'll do is let me go into the provider file and then try to tell that Terraform required underscore version is greater than or equals to 1.0.0 and then required providers. Okay. Source. Okay. You would be basically seeing over here. Let me blindly copy paste this. Azure RM. Okay. But let us try to write greater than or equals to, because few days after might be getting one more latest version. Let us use the latest version of it. Okay. But if you want to use the older version, you have to give just that number. Okay, right, fine, sir. Can we create multiple locations in a file where we use specific? Yeah, you can obviously do that, right? So you create 10 var files, whatever you want to pass, you pass that while creation. Okay, right. Now, again, as usual, let me try to see. Let me destroy this. While that gets destroyed, let me try to create one more thing, which is called as input.tf. Var tf vars is values file. Inputs.tf is something which I would want you to follow these conventions, because it would be extremely useful going down the line if we have the similar conventions. So in this, what are the variables which we have? One is location, the other one is resource group names and CIDR ranges. Okay. Right. So over here, variable. Okay. Let me try to speak about location. Type is equals to string. Default is equals to east US. Description is equals to location to create resource. Okay, sir. Now variable. Next one is what is the next one? Uh, I'm not worried about names. I'm worried about the same thing what we have looked into. Okay. So VNet range. So if you try to look at VNet range, it is list of strings. So I'll be trying to tell that type is list of string and default value is 192.168.0.0/60. Am I clear on this, sir? So description is equals to CIDR range of VNet. Azure calls it as address space, by the way. Okay. Now how do I use it? I'll come over here whenever I have this var dot location. Var dot location. In this case, var dot VNet range. Are we clear on this? Yeah. So, and then I'll be creating one inputs dot tf vars file. And in this location is east US. And then VNet range is equals to 10.100.0.0/16. Okay. Right. Now, one thing which I'll do is, apart from the files which I have created, I am deleting all of them. What are those files? We'll be learning very soon. The only one thing which we know about is Terraform .terraform folder. Terraform init. You have set greater than or equals to that 3.48.0, and right now I have only 3.48. So 10 days after, if you have 3.48.2, it will try to download 3.48.2. Okay, but init is a one-time job. You have done the init, and then now Terraform FMT. Yes, and then Terraform validate. Let us see if I've messed up anything. No, I've not messed up anything. So Terraform apply -var -file is equals to inputs dot tf vars, and then I'll try to tell that I am not interested. I know the things will work out. Let me try to create auto approve. Is it looking better now, sir? Now if you take my resources, you can basically create them and apply whatever ranges which you want. Apply whatever ranges which you want, because I have given an option for you to change the location, that is region, as well as my network's CIDR range. Okay. What is Terraform FMT? Sir, did you attend the class yesterday, Arif? it see that the way Azure works might be different from the way AWS works, right? Here we are not trying to compare AWS and Azure. We are trying to look at manual steps and then trying to create infrastructure for that. So if you work on other cloud, you might have altogether different set of steps. So don't try to compare between AWS and Azure. That is not our intention. Our intention is manual step and then trying to do it. Arif, I would recommend please go through the previous class, sir. Okay, we have spoken about something called as linting. Okay, that is what Terraform format does. Yeah, right. Input and TF and input TFRs are duplicate declaration. Oh, is it? Right. So are these duplicate declarations that you just tell me? Input dot txt, input dot docx. Are they duplicate? No, right? So if these are not duplicate, how can dot tf and dot tfvars can be duplicate? Extensions are different, right? Yeah. Yeah. Why am I giving it two times? Yeah, that's I felt like giving it. There is no other reason for that. Okay. So if you want, you can replace that and give a different name for that. Okay. You mean here I have given values, there I have given inputs. That is that your problem? I'll give any name, sir. Okay. As long as there is no conflict, it's okay, right? Yeah. Fine, sir. Okay then. So are these cloud formation templates? Okay. Seriously, man, these are cloud formation templates? No, sir. The only thing that is common between that and this is both are infra provisioning tools. Both describe infrastructure as code. That's the only things. But these are not that, right? ఓకే. ఒకే పేరుని రకరకాల పేర్లు పెట్టి అమ్మేసుకోవడానికి మనది కాఫీ షాప్ కాదు కదా. రైట్. యా. రైట్ సార్. సో ఆర్ వి క్లియర్ ఆన్ దిస్? Now do we have little bit of parameterization for the work which we do? Yes? Okay. Now there is one next step. If you remember, the next step for me is to create subnets. Next step for me is to create subnets. So what we would do tomorrow is we'll try to create subnets manually, and then from now onwards we are following these rules. Okay. I will always have variable file. Okay, that is tfvars file. I will always do Terraform fmt. Okay. So to indent or to lint whatever work which I have done, I will validate. Okay. And generally I will not try to write anything in Terraform template tf file if it is, let us have some kind of a rule saying that for some time. Actually it should not be based on number of lines, but let us never write a Terraform tf template if it goes beyond 100. Number of lines in a tf file should not be more than 100, just to improve readability. Just to improve readability. Are we clear on this? Yeah, right. So this HashiCorp languages journey will continue for some time, but we will try to see the improvements depending on how we use it. Okay, right. So added changes. Okay, let me do one thing. ఇప్పుడు మీ బాధ ఏంటి? ఇన్పుట్స్ దగ్గరే కదా, దీని పేరు కూడా మార్చేద్దాం. Rename values. Happy? It doesn't matter. Actually, we will be having a vars file for every environment. The var file will be based on your environment. So for example, if I'm creating it for dev environment, it will be dev.tfrs. QA environment, QA.tfrs. That is the reality. But right now, since we are not basically dealing with multi environments, I'm giving any name for that. Okay. So get add dot get commit -m added changes. Okay, sir. So refer here for the changes in Azure Terraform template. Good, sir. Location and VNet both are defined on input.tf. Baboy. Sir, did you understand the difference between TF and TF wars file? TF is definition. TF wars file is value. TF wars file is value. If you basically try to look into this, what I've done is in here, I've said that there are two variables called as this, and these are its default values. But in here, I have said that for the region value will be US West 2, and for NPC meter range, the value is 10.100.0.0/16. Okay. So if you want me to tell the similar example based on this, okay, right. So def add a comma b, return a plus b. So this is something which we have written in .tf file. Okay. In TF wars, I am trying to write a is equals to 5 and b is equals to 6. So here I have defined and here I have passed the value. The same thing I have done over here. Here I have defined the value and then here I have passed the value. Are we clear on this, sir? Okay. What organization's best practices for inputs naming convention? Sir, generally it will be environment, sir. Okay. Right now I'm using inputs, but eventually I'll change that to environment, whether it is QA environment or dev environment. Okay. If in single TFR files, can we write two locations, two CIDR ranges? Okay. You tell me this, sir. Here, how many values are you passing? Two values. Okay. So whenever you want to pass those values, will you give A equal to 5 or will you try to tell A is equals to 6, B is equals to 6 and B is equals to 7? What do you think will happen then? లేనిపోని తలనొప్పులు తలకి తగిలించుకోవటం ఎందుకు? అది ఎలా పనిచేద్దో చెప్తాం ఎందుకు? We need one value. So pass one value. Why do you want to pass it twice? Right? So generally what happens is it will take whatever is the last executed statement. So A will become 6 and B will become 7. It will not be 6 and 2 values. No, it doesn't work that way. Right? How to pass multiple values if you want multiple VNets to be created? First create one. Kindly create one first. Okay. So did we create, at least try creating one? మొదలెట్టాం అది లేదంటే 2 రోజులు ఆగండి ఉగాది ఉంది. Okay. So first let us create one, sir. Let us create the architecture and then we'll figure out how to do multiple stuffs. Okay. Right. So yeah, మీ ఆత్రం నాకు నచ్చింది కాకపోతే no. Let us create one. Let us become good at one. Then we will handle multiple. The ideal scenario what we will be doing is, remember we have created an entire architecture. Yes. What we would do after we do all of this work is we will be trying to make it highly available implementation where you will have one entire architecture running in one region, the other entire architecture running in other region, so that even if one region goes down in AWS or Azure, your application still works. Okay. కానీ అవన్నీ కల్లో అవి తీరాలంటే ఇవన్నీ చేసి చావాలి. Okay. So you have to go step by step, sir. Okay. Right. So what is today's basic intention now? When we are writing Terraform from now onwards, you need to have a Terraform block. In Terraform block, we will restrict on which version of provider you have to use and which version of Terraform you have to use. And whenever there is a need for parameterize, there is something called as input variables, where you can create a variable. And variable can be passed from two ways, -var and -var file. Right? Var file is a better way if you are dealing with too many variables. If it is one or two variables, you can still use -var. Are we clear on this, sir? Yeah. Right. So let me stop it at that. Okay. And one more thing, sir. So generally we don't work on Mondays. This time we have a holiday on Wednesday. So let us work on Monday and let us take the holiday for 2 continuous days. Yeah. So ideally tomorrow is holiday, every Monday. Yeah. And 22nd is festival Ugadi, so I have to give a holiday. So let us work on Monday so that we can take holidays on 21st and 22nd, 2 continuous days. Is that okay, sir? Yeah. Okay then. Okay then. Thank you, sir.